1, go.
Hello, my name is Rogelio Lopez, and this is my Capstone 2 group for spring 2023. We're students from Florida International University, and this semester we were creating a social university app. The team members for this semester are Sebastian Aviles, Rebecca Gonzalez, Arquimides Cala, Yosin Venegas, me, and the professor Masos Sayari. Okay, so the purpose of this app is since the COVID hit, like more students are taking online classes and there's like less social activities going on campus. Also, many students like myself, we have to like work and we just go to a class and then leave, you just go back home. So the purpose of this app is to allow university students to interact with one another with ease and comfortability with like-minded individuals. And yeah, like I said, the solution that we created was like to create this social app for these kind of students, right? And like I was saying, there's a lack of a student campus life, academic involvement, and as extracurricular activities. And we hope with this app to help increase those interactions. So the project that we created is gonna be, like I said before, it's gonna be a social media app, and it's gonna be for both Android and iOS devices. Some of the tools that we use for this app was like Flutter, Android Studios, and Xcode for the simulations. VS Code is where we did like most of the code, and Back4App is what we use for the database. We also use GitHub for the to for all the commits. Forgot how you say it. Next person.
So an introduction to our project. Basically, we wanted the features of a home screen, a profile page, a login and sign up page, a messaging UI, and a navigation bar. So for our progress throughout the semester, there was a large focus on getting the app with the basic features to become functional, with UI and Figma to become more uniform and a later priority. So the way we did it is, to our next slide, we had user stories. Basically, we were trying to get the way that we could establish the app uniformly. As with the user stories, we wanted to have a loading screen between transitions. I want to have a page UI and the selection UI to accept people as the similar towards Tinder. That took us a while to figure out. We also wanted to have the user to have a profile picture and bio, as well as be able to change their settings. For us developers, we wanted to get information such as the user, such as the age, name, gender, and school, so we would know our demographic. As developers, we'd want to redesign the UI and login screen to just be more uniform. Lastly, we wanted the message feature to be completely functional with the databases, but due to the time constraint and this being a project that we had just started up from the end of the semester or the beginning of the semester, not all goals were achieved.
So one of the main things we wanted to do is, have a user, have an account, have different students. And the way to do that is by signing up. We were able to set up the parse. That was the first thing I did. We set up the back end so we can store the data. And it was originally very basic. It was username, email, and password. And then we were able to extend to our other stretch stories, which was to include first name, last name, and gender as a drop-down menu. So first we had a very basic UI, and then we had a more like refined UI. As you can see, like there's a grading on the buttons. They're all kind of uniform in length and stuff like that. So it's a lot better, more interactive. It makes the users want to actually use the app, and no one like leaves because it maybe looks like a, like school sponsored, or maybe it's not as nice. And then here we have object design. So this is kind of how we set up the database. So for messaging and future uses of the Friends application, We have the user itself, which is like any student or maybe even faculty. You have identified by object ID, by their username, by their email, and then by the other non-essential primary keys. Because you can have repeated usernames or emails, nor object IDs. So we use these as primary keys. And then we have this friendship relation, which also has its own object ID. The friendship can be identified by this. And the friendship stores the first username and the second username of two people that are friends. So this is like a friendship. And then when you have messages, we attach it to a friendship. So we know the conversation is between two people. In the programming, we do have to check if first username or second username, if the order matters, if it's different. But the messages store like who wrote the message, who received it. This is repeated, but that's wrong. Whatever. And it has the content itself, and then it also has its own primary key.
So now this goes on to our login screen, where basically we just implemented a user to have a login where they can use their credentials to sign in their account. Unfortunately, we weren't able to do everything that we should have had for a login screen, such as recover his password, a button to view password as he or she typed it, and they should have a message prompted with an error if the credentials are not correct.
So that leads to the feed page. This is more or less where also like most users gonna spend like the most time in. That's why I took like a lot of time to like work on the UI. So basically what you're seeing on the UI is a like and dislike button, like the UI is like pretty similar to like Tinder, because that's what we were using for inspiration, if you want to call it so. Right now it's not working, but on the back end there's a list of images like being displayed that you can like like swap and just kind of like see like the user profile and the different images that they have. Some things that we have to work on the feed page that unfortunately we couldn't do due to the time constraint is I connect like everything to the database and kind of like pull like all the information from all the users and be able to like the user that's using the app like be able to like see like the different users. That's something that we wanted to work on, but like I said, unfortunately we couldn't do it. Also at the settings button functionality, which is gonna be it's gonna work like work as a filter, in which you be able to kind of like filter the people that you want to see. So you'll be able to like filter people by the class that they're taking or their interests. And I don't know, like people that like ping pong or like different activities. And also the real-time location button functionality. That's something we wanted to add to, which is going to be a button to only see the people that are currently on campus if they also have that feature activated. And those two buttons are the ones that you can see on the top right corner.
So one of the other major features of the program or the app was to be able to message with other students. So we created a sequence diagram to outline the flow of requests and information for a chat message. So it begins when a student sends a request to their application to select a friend. At that point, it requests all messages from the server between that user and their friend. As Rebecca mentioned earlier, that is through a friendship ID. And that friendship ID keeps track of all the interactions between two users. It then returns all the messages within a certain time frame that correspond to that friendship ID. The application then displays the individual chat view, which we'll see on the next slide. And then when a student clicks send new message or the text box below, and then click send, they're able to send a message to the server. That server can send back any errors, and if not, it is saved to the database. At which point the message is shown on the other user's app and is also refreshed on the first user's application so that they can see the message that they just sent. So on the next slide, we'll see a photo of what that UI looks like for the chat feature. As stated earlier, what we were able to implement was that the user is able to send message towards other users and the user is able to have multiple chats. However, something that we do want to configure is to have the UI be a little bit more appealing, perhaps through interacting with messages, as you can see on iOS, Android, or WhatsApp, as well as being able to attach links, documents, photos, and things like that.
So one of the main things that we wanted to implement in the application was the ability to edit a profile, as is kind of necessary with any sort of social application, having a picture, a username. So we were able to implement a system where the user can change the different parts of their account, with more being able to be added. We started with username, first name, last name, and the major, and a profile picture. Right now, any of those can be changed. And when you hit save, it automatically synchronizes with the database and updates those fields. And if you hit, as you can see in the picture, if you hit the little pencil icon, you can select a new profile picture and that gets uploaded to the database as a file. That for future versions of the app, it would be most useful to have an ability to change the password and to add a bio, but those require email authentication for the password. And for the bio, we haven't added that in the database yet, but those are kind of things to work on in the future. But as of right now, those current fields are functioning and they're synchronizing with the database. So yeah.
Itachi?
So here we have our system definitions and designs. So for how it works for the most part is that we have these Dart language files that Flutter lets us use regardless of where the application is run, such as iOS, Android, or the website. And then what happens is that it updates the Flutter state repeatedly with some utility methods used from the user class, which then is updated to the parsed database.
So in conclusion, in summary, like Rogelio said at the beginning, the end goal of this application is to provide students with a way to socialize and connect in a way that after COVID-19 hasn't really been as big. We were able to establish a lot of the main things that we wanted in the application, but there's definitely a lot more room to improve it if the project keeps going for more semesters. If you have any questions about the application, we have our emails listed there. And thank you very much for listening to our presentation.